What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Jacob live in Wisconsin here to talk a little Packers, give you a little recap on that game last night between the Denver Broncos and the Green Bay Packers. When I say recap, we're going to specifically dive into the PFF grades, kind of see who maybe helped their stock a little bit, who hurt themselves a touch, and also talk about the snap count. And we're going to take your all's questions, comments in the chat here as well. So I see everybody filing in as Jacob's hitting on the comments here. Jacob, did you have a good day, big dog?
I did. I tried to forget about that rough night last night, and slept pretty good. Had a good night's sleep, and so yeah, I'm ready to go ahead and. I saw a comment in there that said, burn the tape, let's move on. I somewhat understand that sentiment, but we got to dive into it, figure out what we did right, what we did wrong. Take it with all a giant grain of salt because we'll get into it. Me and Clayton were just briefly chatting. Some people are going a little over top. I mean, dude, we did not start like 30 players, all right? So,
right. Yeah.
And they were playing their ones. Let's just chill. We'll have a fun time, though. I'm ready to talk some ball.
Yeah, the big talking point today on some of the live shows that I watched, I watched Wildy and Tausch with Balaga and Wildy, and I listened to Chewy this morning on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, and it was cool to hear former football players' perspective. I know there are some people that are saying everybody's overreacting, but when you hear Chewy's take on the game and then you hear Bulaga's, it's like, you shouldn't feel bad for coming away from that game as a fan feeling like, man, that sucked. Like, what are we doing? But like Jacob pointed out, anytime you're playing your backups, your second string against someone's first string, and then you jump right into your third string against their second string, you're always going to be playing from behind. And I think that was the most disappointing part. And we've talked ad nauseum about the joint practices and how important they are and why they're important. But really, you didn't put yourself in a position to maximize the reps is the only thing that I come away really kind of disappointed about. Like I feel like you could have put yourself in a better spot. For example, and I want to give a shout out to Ticket King, but first, for example, like the deep shots by Clifford right off the bat, that puts you behind the eight ball all night long, and you didn't really have it. You should have kind of started with I have a hard time believing that would be an opener call. You know what I'm saying, Jacob? Like 2 deep shots down the sideline. Let's just launch a couple deep shots and then get ready to punt. That's something I did have a little bit of an issue with. But, again, if he had connected, though, like Jordan did,
yeah,
we'd all been fired up, right? And I'll tell you what I'm fired up about. That's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live, Wisconsin-based since 92, specializing in Packers tickets, Wisconsin's largest ticket source. The office is next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. You can just click on the link in the video description. That'll send you to theticketking.com where you can register for free as a customer and go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that is Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. We appreciate them supporting the show. Also got an email today from DraftKings, and they're interested in partnering up. I got to get on the phone with them and see what's going on there. One thing I will say, we are going to be very, very, very cautious with who we partner up with, because the one thing we're not going to do is ever give up, what do you call it? Creative freedom, I guess is the best way to put it. We're always going to talk about what we want to talk about. And if someone tries to limit that on us or, hey, we need you to hit on this topic consistently, that stuff's not going to fly. I'd rather not get paid a dime and us just talk ball. So
I will say that'd be pretty cool to work with DraftKings, though. They've stolen a lot of my money.
I'm trying to get some of that back, James.
I want some of that money back, bro. Hey, I will say, though, I got 43rd out of like 5,000 people in a DraftKings. It was a preseason matchup with the Packers in-game matchup. It was pretty cool. Yeah. I'm excited, man.
One thing I used to love to do is the free games. And here we are promoting them, and they don't even sponsor the show. It's hilarious. But they have a Madden. I don't know if they still do it, but they had a Madden thing.
Yeah, where they would do the Madden streams all the time. Yeah,
bro, it's awesome. The Madden simulations, and you can actually put a fantasy team together between those two teams, and you got a chance to win money, and it doesn't cost anything to enter. That was really cool there too. So anyway, though, I don't know. It's cool to see how technology has come along and how we're all even better connected when it comes to just fans in general, in ways that you can follow the game, whether you're a fantasy nerd or you're an X's and O's nut like me, or just I don't like to use the word casual. I think it's more of an insult than anything, but just maybe you're a fan that, hey, man, I just like to turn it on, have a cold beer, and watch a couple snaps. Ain't nothing wrong with that either. I just think it's awesome how social media, if you use it the right way, can connect all of us fans. I think it's awesome. So
It's a great point, Clayton. That being said, I know that I love using DraftKings. Let's move on.
Right here, you got to hit them with the old. Yeah. So let's do this, man. Let's talk snap count first. Well, actually, I've got a couple of chats here, Mark, I want to hit real quick. AFM in the chat early said, Tim with the hard flex last night when he stated he had the local announcers in his garage / living room. It was a humble brag for sure. AFM says, I'm ordering my Tyron Hopper jersey. Tyron Hopper, to me, he looked good last night, but every snap that I seen, it was when I went back and watched it again, it's like these were run snaps. So I didn't get a chance to look at him in pass coverage much. I'd like to go back and see that, which what I did notice, Jacob, a lot of man coverage, a lot of spot drop. It was very, very vanilla. It was almost like they were playing like a Tampa 2 spot drop or something. So, and that's by design. So,
do you remember I sent you a text mid-game? I sent you a lot of texts mid-game, but I sent you one specifically, and I said, I really, and it basically goes to what you had just mentioned. I just didn't feel like they were maximizing the reps. I'm like, we're running draw plays or interior runs on like 3rd and long. Like, why, if we are using these, we're putting them out on the field, risking them getting injured. Why not at least be? I mean, I know doing vanilla, but you were dang near clear. That wasn't just white or vanilla. I mean, that was just nothing. So,
yep. And I think that's what I was trying to explain here during the open, Jacob, is like it didn't feel like you maximized the opportunity with the reps. It was just very, and I'm not talking about performance. I'm simply talking like it just, I would have liked to seen, you're not going to show a whole lot of exotics, but just stuff to kind of see what you could accomplish. There was one time I remember seeing a zero blitz where it was at least a cover 1 blitz. I think it was a zero blitz with a little bracket coverage on a specific receiver, but it was a 6-man rush. I was like, okay, here we go. And then they went right back away from us. So it was a snooze fest in that regard for sure. AFAM also said in the chat, I think I need more Jacob Beard and Paul Allen thoughts. There you go. We need to do a segment on that where you just do an impression of Paul Allen.
I forgot about that.
You forgot about a lot of stuff last night. That's a story for a different day. Jim in the chat says, totally uninspired performance by the Packers. No real compete or effort by the team. Every now and then we get games like this from Matt LaFleur teams. Real concerns regarding our backup quarterback position. He went on to say, I know everything is vanilla, but the defense got rolled over. Clayton is right to question the depth of the Packers. And again, I don't think they were put in a great spot. And one of the talking points today, Jim, I want to get your take on this, Jacob. LaFleur came out and kind of questioned the players want to. Did you hear that? He was.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't even bring it up without playing the exact soundbite, but he said something to the effect of these guys should be playing harder for themselves and playing harder for their teammates, and kind of questioned their effort, I guess is the right way to put it. I know that rubbed Wildy the wrong way. That rubbed several other people the wrong way. And it was, you're not even doing everything you can do, coach, because you didn't even play the starters. Like,
exactly.
It's hard to believe that the backups and the third stringers aren't playing for their football lives. But again, every time that you speak to the media, you're speaking to your team. I think that was a way to tell them, hey, look, the piss wasn't hot enough last night, Jake, was what he was saying, right? So,
yeah, I agree with that. I think also Matt LaFleur is kind of dancing that line between old Matt LaFleur, aw shucks Matt LaFleur, and this new gangster Tupac LaFleur. And you can tell he doesn't have time for a lot of these questions. And I feel like he's maybe leaning a little too hard into the new, like, snarky, sarcastic Matt LaFleur, because there are a few times where I'm like, that was a decent question. You have to be what about it. And to be fair, I think that's maybe, to your point, kind of what his intention was, is he realized now I've got a younger team. I don't have an Aaron Rodgers type, so I can kind of poke them a little bit and try to see if that inspires them. And honestly, if there was a time, this is now our second road game. I don't know if you want to call it. It's another. I can't remember who made the comment previous, but it is a little bit of a pattern that Matt LaFleur has had. Remember, if he goes out west, for whatever reason, our teams just do not show up. They're very lackadaisical. I don't know if it's the travel, if it's a time change, whatever the question has been. It's usually farther on the West Coast, in San Fran or that kind of stuff. But I feel like this was a good point in the season, which is obviously before it even starts, to get them a little bit ticked off, because everything up until that one comment, he's praised this team high, up and down for their quote unquote want to. or their effort that they've had in practices, or their ability to, embrace a new scheme, new coaches, new playbook, that kind of stuff. So it was really uncharacteristic of him, but I think it was intentional. I think he just has to be a little bit careful of how he pokes. My dad, dude, when I was a little kid, my dad used to poke me in the chest with 2 fingers. And I swear to this day, if anybody does that to me, I immediately just
start swinging. My dad, dude, he had these pressure points down.
Oh, yeah.
He's a street rat. He's a biker. He's just as rough as they come. And I remember as a kid, we get in there, slap boxing, right? And he'd catch you on the shoulder, just a quick bang, and we keep, and like 5 seconds later, that whole side would go numb. He'd hit a keep you in the floor. People are gonna be like, "Dang, Clayton got abused as a kid." Kinda, yeah, but it was a good thing. It was a good thing.
I needed it. Trust me.
Yes, I deserve way more beatings than I got. I promise you that. Greg Rice says Wilson, running back, talking about Emmanuel Wilson, did pretty good for the crap blocking. We'll talk about that here in a minute. We'll hit on some of the PFF grades. For me, Wilson, I think running the ball from a statistical standpoint wasn't horrible. And again, without diving too much into the tape and actually, okay, was this duo, was this inside zone? Where was the play designed to go? It's hard to really – I lean on PFF for that a little bit because they take the time to watch all the snaps and they try to get a good gauge on, okay, here's where the play was designed to go. Did they hit the proper hole? Now, if it's a regular season game, an important play that makes our Chalk Talk segment where I try to find the 15 key plays that determine the outcome of the game type thing, it's a little different. But, yeah, I would be lying to you, Greg, if I said, hey, I think Wilson did really good or really bad, But as far as the blocking, though, I think he did have a decent pass blocking grade, Emmanuel Wilson. According to PFF, they gave him a 79.9, I believe. We'll talk about it here in a minute, though. We'll hit on that, which maybe he overcorrected there, Jacob, because the running grade was down, but the pass blocking grade was up, so maybe overcorrected there a little bit. Knucklehead Paul in the chat, good to see you, buddy. He says, I'm kind of glad they got their lunch handed to them all weekend, and now going into the Ravens joint practices, who are also no joke of a team, I think are a great test of character early. That's a great point, Paul. Yep. Jacob, Baltimore, some people would say it's one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the AFC, maybe even the entire league. So those joint practices, bro, that's going to get intense. Listen, Baltimore is a way better team than Denver. Denver ate our lunch in practice and in the game. So let's go in there to Baltimore and let's say, you know what? All right, we're the underdogs again. Let's come out swinging. But what do you think about what Paul said there about the Ravens, man?
No, I agree with that completely. We have Baltimore coming to our turf, though, don't we?
Yes, correct.
So, hopefully that's a little bit different. I was just making a point in my previous little commentary there is I think it's the perfect time to what Knucklehead Paul is saying. It's the perfect time to have really bad stuff happen, to have almost like and again, they didn't play their starters, but that being said, I like that LaFleur maybe chose now to kind of poke and prod that bottom half of the roster because I was thinking about it a little more after we went to the next segment, and it's the perfect time because all the starters are off the field for that game. They didn't feel any type of way about LaFleur said because they know I wasn't there. I didn't do anything. He's not talking to me. He's talking to the second and third and the 4th stringers and the UDFAs that are just going to be maybe lucky if they get the team. So he's trying to spark that bottom half of the roster, I think, maybe in a really smart way to get them really jacked up going into the next week where he's going against, like you just talked about, arguably at least I would say a top 5 team, at least during the regular season. Once they get to the postseason, they tend to. Who said it today? Somebody said that Lamar Jackson's face goes on a milk carton once they hit the postseason. I can't remember who said it, but
I'll tell you, man, he hasn't been able to get over the hump. That's for sure. And listen, I was I wouldn't say a critic, but I was very, all right, this dude's going to have to show me. Because he made so many plays with his legs that it did make you question, okay, can he make the play with his arm? Prove me wrong, man. That dude is a MVP caliber quarterback, and he's a leader. His teammates love him. But I know what you're saying, Jacob. You get into the playoffs, and it's like, I'm sure he has a playoff win. I don't know how many he has, but he definitely can't get over the hump, at least as of this point. And it's not like he doesn't have a coach who's got that experience and knows how to win a Super Bowl. I mean, for God's sakes, he won one with Joe Flacco. So That's not to knock Joe Flacco, but I don't think anyone's saying, hey, if you had to pick a quarterback to lead you to the promised land, he's probably not in the top 10, right? So Coach Lynn in the chat said, watch the tape, learn from it, and flush it. Amen to that, buddy. Eric Sutherland says, DraftKings is why my kids have butter sandwiches for a year. Again, sponsor the show.
Yeah.
Michael Jones. Eric, you're the reason we can't have nice things around here, man.
We need that meme from Parks and Rec. Money, please. Money, please.
Shaking the cup. Yeah. Michael Jones. The depth on the team didn't look good, but you would like to see the quarterback play be a little better than that. Come on, man. Yeah, the quarterbacks let me down a little bit. Now, I will say this, Jacob. I was pretty hard on Sean Clifford. I felt like they both played like cheeks, but I felt like Pratt played a little better than Clifford, personally. But then I heard Matt LaFleur afterwards listen to the postgame presser one more time, and he said that the interception was on, I think it was Malik Heath. Malik Heath should have flattened the route off. So the choice aspect of the route, Malik Heath came up a little short. And when you go back and watch the throw, it makes sense as to why Clifford put the ball where he did. And those are the little things, and Coach Lynn can attest to this with choice routes. Those are the little things that make a big difference, man. It can be the difference between a first down, a pass, a conversion, moving the sticks, and the other team getting the ball, Which I will say on an interception, too, someone pointed out earlier today that it was Jacob Monk that ran down that guy who got the interception. It was a hell of a hustle play. So that's a good sign there from a rook there, too. So, Number One Packer fan says, you got to think Coach sees more than what we see. So we hear his response without his context leading into those games. Yeah, there's always a little bit of that for sure. I will say, though, Coach LaFleur was, I think his comments weren't, I think they were kind of misdirected. And I never want to be that guy that says, well, here's what he really meant. I'm not going to do that. But I think that his response was just overall how he felt about the whole week. And I think he's thinking back to that practice like, man, we didn't show up with that energy we needed to, And it's important, guys. The preseason, whether we want to admit it or not, it's about creating momentum. We can sit here and roll our eyes and go, it's not a big deal. It's just a preseason game. Do you guys remember 2 and 3 years ago? Remember the Saints game in Jacksonville? We got our asses kicked. Didn't play the whole preseason. Remember the next year against the Vikings? Got our asses kicked week 1. Didn't play the whole preseason. Last year, we played the whole preseason. We come out, we beat the Bears week 1. And then we go right back to we're just going to kind of play a couple snaps here and there. If they start off slow again, I'm just saying, I wouldn't mind to see them. I feel like we screwed the pooch. I'm just going to be honest. And I'm not saying I'm right about this, but this is just my personal feeling. The proper way to handle it would have been significant playing time for week 1, week 2, and then you sit them 3. And I'll tell you why. Now you've got yourself painted into a corner. If you march your starters out there in week 3 of the preseason, 2 things are going to happen. First of all, if someone does get hurt, and it could be just anything, it could be someone roll an ankle, right? That minor tweak might be enough to keep you out of week 1. I think it was Balaga that was talking about this earlier today. He explained it to a T. That can bleed into week 1. Now you're without starters, right? So rather than have 3 weeks with the bye week at the end of the preseason to kind of get over any injuries you may or may not have going into or during the game in week 2 of the preseason, now you only have 1 extra week to get ready for that. On top of that, too, it's just the momentum that you can create going in. Also, in week 3 of the preseason, you've got a lot of guys playing for roster spots. Bro, Jacob, that's when it gets dangerous in the preseason because you got these guys out there. They're like, I don't care who is out there and where they're at in their career. My family needs food on the table. I need to make this roster. So you got a lot more people end up on the ground. A lot more injuries ended up happening in the final week of preseason. So I do kind of feel like Coach backed himself into a corner a touch. And I don't know if he'll play them or not. I'm team play them, get them out there, get some reps. Listen, you can't be scared of getting hurt. But I'm old school like that. I understand it. It's frustrating. Jordy Nelson goes down in Pittsburgh, ruined the whole year. You remember that, don't you, Jacob?
Yeah, I do.
It was just took the air out of everything that year. So Fred McFarley said, never good to fail a piss test. Yeah, I agree. M. Smitty says, as my dad says, no fight is fair. I will use dirty old man tricks. That sounds that might land you in the clink there. Coach Lynn says, can we talk about Sean Payton? Thought on how he handled the game situation. Oh boy. Jake, I want to get your take on it. Did you think he did anything inappropriate? And I'll give you my take. I don't want to sway you in any way.
I mean, when you say inappropriate, do you mean like
I assume what Coach Lynn's talking about is being too aggressive and
right?
playing to win the game, is that type of thing in the preseason.
I mean, no. I wish that. Honestly, I wish McFleur was a little more
We're on the same
Peyton.
page.
I mean, yeah. If anything, I was a little bit like you just said. The only criticism, not the only, but one of the biggest criticisms I have of LaFleur is the exact point you made. It's like, hey, man, why don't you guys give it your all? I mean, I know I'm giving you none of your starters, and I'm asking you to go play against their ones, and I'm going to call absolutely a mayonnaise playbook like to the T, and then I'm going to criticize you in front of everybody. That did upset me. I don't think Sean Payton. Sean Payton, with all the stuff that he's got a lot of criticism for the way that he coaches as well. But he seems like one of those last remaining old school type coaches that are a little bit more John Gruden-ish, where they just kind of don't give a crap what you think or say or how your little feelings feel. I don't think he's afraid to piss off the media at all. And I will say they got a good quarterback rotation. I don't think any one of them is great, but I think that they've got three decent quarterbacks, and he's, obviously figured out a way to win with whether it be Drew Brees or even when they had to fill in with Taysom every now and then. And he's a good coach, man. I like his style, to be honest. I don't know if I'd like to play for him, but
I would. Listen, I'm not condoning what he did during Bounty Gate.
I was just gonna say, if my coach paid me,
listen, if we're being honest, you guys are gonna think way less of me. That's how my mind ticks. I'm not proud of it.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
I guess exactly. I guess it was my upbringing. I don't know. I'm that dude that's sliding in the second, and if I can get away with it, I'm hitting you in the face with dirt to break up a double play. I'm doing it. I'm also that dude when I'm on the mound. Somebody squares around the bunt.
Wait a minute. So in Roadhouse, you're the bad guy that throws the dirt in Dalton's face, Clayton?
Yeah, I guess so.
I just watched your mind. Oh my God, I'm the villain.
The villain. People back home, they talked about like I had a lot of talent. I didn't see it that way. And I think if you would take me and put me into a larger city, I would have been mediocre at best at baseball. But being from a smaller town, I guess I was one of the better ball players. But what I was lacking in talent, man, I'm telling you, dude, I'm gonna do everything I can to get the edge. When someone squared around the bunt, my eyes, as soon as out of my peripheral, I seen them square, my eyes went from the target to that logo on their helmet. And I'm throwing right at their face every time. Like it was just the way my mind ticked. And I'm not proud of it. It's just Sean Payton telling guys to be aggressive, go out there and, you know what I mean, do whatever it takes to win. I relate to that, man. I'm the dude that would go in, spikes up in the second. And I mean spikes up. I'm looking to bring blood. And then when someone done it to me, I'm trying to start a fist fight at second. Yeah. I can do it, but you can't do it to me. What do you, it's like the old Dale Earnhardt thing, right? Like he would always spin people out. And then like his old crew chief said, is like, they'd let him get away with it forever. And then when NASCAR would finally find him, he'd look at him like a dog that you let pee on the rug for 6 months. And all of a sudden you whoop them and they're like, what's the deal here? What are we doing? So anyway, I say all that because I do I'm not going to BS you. I respect all of you too much to lie to you. I kind of dig that kind of coach, man. That's just me personally. I think respect is important. Don't get me wrong. And I don't want to see anybody hurt, but at the same time, it's, yeah, I'm with you. Smitty says Clayton taking my dad's sayings to heart, man. When you get older, you got to do what you got to do. So Coach Lynn, I hope that answered your question. I don't have a problem with it, man. People used to get mad at Steve Spurrier at Florida because he'd run the score up. Stop him, stop him. Again, that's probably not the right way to think of it from a coaching standpoint, but I was never a coach. So that's probably another reason why I'm not. I've had so many people go, Clayton, you've got to get into coaching. We need you in coaching. We need you. I'm like, you guys would run me out so fast because I'm telling you, I am not cut out to be a coach. I promise you.
My dad coached my little league team when I was in 5th grade.
This is gonna be good.
And the association tried to get him to quit because we had this kid who just developed faster than anybody named Kyle McNamee. What's up, Kyle? And he all he would do, my dad would either pitch left or pitch right. and with me as a lead blocker or one of the other big kids as a lead blocker, and we would hurt kids. And it was at the time where you could wear the massive pads, so like your helmet. And my dad knew that there was no chance I could break my neck. So he goes, "You Billy Goat that kid. When he comes up, he'd be like Bobby Boucher him right into the freaking chest, dude. Just plant him." And I would.
Let's go, man.
We hurt a lot of
cheating,
kids.
you ain't trying.
Yeah.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Exactly.
That's the stupidest thing I've
ever
heard.
You could be second or third.
You could even be fourth. I was drunk when I told you. No, you said I was probably high when I told you. We need to break out a Talladega Nights watch party sometime. All right. Anyway, back to chat. Eric, so if you guys haven't caught on, we're going to hit the PFF grades. I just wanted to kind of see what the fans were thinking tonight, right? And lean on the chat here and get everybody's take on it, because there's been a lot of opinions. I was listening to the Matt Schneiden show before we went live, and he had Bill Huber on because Matt Schneiden and Bill Huber kind of disagreed on everything. And it was just a good, healthy conversation. If you guys get a chance, go listen to that. It's a way better show than this one, I promise you that. Eric Sutherland says, AJ rushed for one less yard yesterday than he did last week. That's a good point. Well, AJ's like, I didn't even play. Why are y'all talking about me?
Leave me alone.
CJN says Clifford played like cheeks while Pratt played like butt. Together, they were butt cheeks. I think that's a fair assessment. I do. Respect Orange just says Peyton's going to Peyton. Work for his team and their fans, though. That's right. J. Cole says they slapped us. Slap they ass back. I like it. And Ari Ironminer says Packers should have shown up. Coaching is at fault here, too. Yeah, that's the one thing about LaFleur's comments. It does kind of come across, Iron Miner, if I'm understanding your comment correctly here, Jacob, and like I want to get your take. It does kind of feel like Coach had a little bit of that. I did everything I needed to do, and they didn't show up. I don't like that. You know what I mean? You always want to fall on the sword for your team, but you want to get the message across too, right? So,
yeah, it wasn't a great look. It was definitely one of those. I'll categorize that in one of like the AJ Dillon, Keyshawn Nixon, Matt LaFleur interviews where you're like, why did you say that? I'm trying so hard not to have any drama or negativity. And then you just go say like I'm sure maybe, I don't think we give enough credit to the players. We're like, oh, they're actually humans, blah, blah. Same thing with the coaches, dude. They go up there and they probably say something and they're just off the cuff. They think it's funny. I do that all the time. I say really stupid stuff. And then 2 seconds as I'm even talking still, I went, oh, no. Right. Oh, no, that came out. I'm going to pretend like I didn't just say that. And then when you have the media literally diagnosing and writing everything that you just said down.
Oh, dude.
And then having an opinion about it to get clicks. Yeah, good luck. You're not going to survive that.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I say it all the time. If you haven't heard me say or seen me do something stupid, hang around. It's right around the corner, I promise.
Yeah.
So, all right, man, let's go to snap count real quick. And these are going to be a little bit blurry. I did the best I could. I just grabbed a screenshot off of Rob Nemovsky's tweet. He's always the one who's got the snap count, so shout out to Rob. Does a good job with that. So Royce Newman played 100% of the snaps. Now, you guys know Matt LaFleur said that he needs to work on his conditioning. Let me translate that for you. The dude's here. Actually, I think I'll let Coach Half translate.
Thick.
So he, I think he's saying he's a little out of shape. Well, they played him 100% of the snaps. And some of you guys are going, well, there's many players that play 100% of the snaps. The closest one to him was Travis Glover at 81% of the snaps. So Royce Newman at guard and center, I believe, played 59 snaps. Travis Glover played 48 snaps at tackle. That makes me happy, Jacob, that he got so many snaps. He got a real good look at him. And again, we'll look at the PFF grades. I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised with Travis Glover. I think it was a decent performance. Jacob Monk got 42 snaps. That's exciting to see there as well. Then you have Bo Melton with 39 snaps. Kadeem Telford with 39 snaps. Dubose and Heath both had 37 snaps. Joe Wilson with 35 snaps. So they're getting a real good look at him. Emmanuel Wilson, 33 snaps. Michael Pratt, 32 snaps. Lasita Smith, center, with 30 snaps. Sean Ryan with 29 snaps. Actually, I got those mixed up. I'm sorry, guys. Royce Newman wasn't the one who got called out, right? It was Sean Ryan. My bad. I'm totally off. So that does not true what I said, because he only got 49% of the snaps. But Royce Newman got a heavy dose workload there. I apologize. I was definitely incorrect on that. It was Sean Ryan that they were talking about needed conditioning, but he only played 29 snaps. Sean Clifford with 27 snaps, Ben Sims 24, Merriweather 21, and then it goes under 20. We could talk about those if you want to, Jacob. I've got the rest of that list as well, but get your take there on that snap count. We can jump down to page 2 and 3 if you need it, but what's your general takeaway there, man?
Yeah, I mean, I really think obviously they're trying to figure out what they have in Newman, if anything. I like the fact that Glover got as much looks as he did. Same with Monk. A little worried about Bo. That just tells me that I think they're really considering that mix between Bo, DeBose, and Heath. I mean, look right there, they're within 2 snaps. Everybody almost got basically the exact same. That to me says, and I will say that last night, I think Heath took the biggest step out of those 3 receivers. I did not think Bo had another good game whatsoever. And I thought DeBose looked a little not as great as I was hoping as well. I thought Joe Wilson looked really good. Was still surprised at how many snaps they give Emmanuel. I feel like that guy's earned a spot on this team. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. And then as we get closer to the bottom there, I was surprised that Tenuta only had 17, surprised that Dillard only had 14, but I think this may be more of like they wanted to maybe keep Dillard and Jones a little less impactful. I don't think they wanted him to get injured or whatever the case is there. So it's weird. I don't know what your opinion is, whereas you can look at the very top of this with the highest snap counts and you can look at the very bottom. And I think those are the 2 extremes you should look at, and we can infer as to what that means for their roster spots. And I would be more worried about the guys in the general middle that are getting, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. The way I took it, and I could be wrong, I don't have any inside information or anything. The less snap counts you got in this game, the more likely they are to have a roster spot. That's really the way I see it, because that was the whole goal, right? Was get a lot of looks for those backups. So, it's not to say that Royce Newman's going to get cut. I think he's got a lot of experience. So it'd be really hard to convince me that they're just going to cut him outright. Although when you think of the depth chart, and again, this is ESPN, so it doesn't mean it's correct, but when you look at the depth chart, where is Royce Newman? They've got him as the backup left guard. All right. I don't believe that is accurate. For me, I think Sean Ryan is the backup left guard, the backup center, and the backup right guard. Okay. And I could be wrong, but just kind of reading the tea leaves, that's the way I see that. If that's the case, then that would mean Royce Newman is probably the third. He's the third string interior offensive lineman. So probably a decent chance that he makes this roster when you look at it like that. So, maybe there is nothing to that, Jacob, what we were just talking about as far as the snap count. But Travis Glover getting those 48 snaps, again, when they pulled – okay, who was it that started at tackle? Do you remember, Jacob? It was it Tenuta? Am I thinking right?
I thought it was Dillard, but I could be wrong.
I mean, right tackle. Dillard was left tackle.
Right tackle. I don't remember.
I believe it was Tenuta, if I remember correctly. And then as soon as they pulled him, they put in Glover, and Glover got a bunch of snaps. So it kind of feels like they're giving Glover a good look there to go, okay, are we missing anything there? And I got to be honest, when we hit the PFF grades, Glover was one of the shining players here. It wasn't great, but also Tenuta showed up big time too. So Tenuta, spoiler alert, was the highest graded offensive player for the Packers yesterday. So, but yeah, I see what you're saying about the snap count. And the one thing that you pointed out here, I didn't really think about it, but you hit the nail on the head. Bo Melton, Grant DeBose, and Malik Heath, those snaps being so close together, that's the big competition right there at wide receiver. That's the guy. One of those 3 are going to be that 6th receiver on this roster, no doubt about it. I think Bo Melton's got it, me personally, and the question becomes, do you want to carry? Actually, Bo Melton would be the 5th, wouldn't he? So you're looking at DeBose and Heath. Bo Melton is not going to clear waivers. I think there's a decent chance DeBose and Heath would. I think there's more of a chance of DeBose clearing waivers than Heath, but we'll see. Any other snap count you want to see? You want to see some of these latter ones? There's page 2. Not a whole.
I mean, just real quick, there is kind of a pattern to the grouping. If you can just scroll just a little bit, like you said, there is that kind of constant competition between that interior backup position. So Royce, Glover, and Monk all got similar snap counts. Obviously, Glover was at tackle, but I think you can still put him in that boat. And then Telfert's right up there too. And then, like we just talked about, the wide receivers are all grouped in right there. Joel Wilson and Sims had roughly similar type stuff. Obviously, Pratt and Clifford are going to have similar type stuff. And then Wilson and Merriweather were kind of in that grouping. And then when you get really low down there, I think it's more like Tyler Davis. I think we know that they know what they kind of see in him. But like Dimitri Stanley, I'm sure that was just the fact of like, hey, we only have like 4 more snaps to throw you in. Let's throw you in, or whatever it was. So I don't know if you want to look at those other smaller, the even smaller snap counts. We could, because I'll guarantee, a lot of these guys are just going to be dudes that it'll be a luck and a prayer if they make the squad kind of thing.
Yeah. So, there's how it sits right there. Again, that first part, that's your offense, and then that middle column is your defense. So you got Tyron Hopper with 82% of the snaps. Kalen King they got a heavy dose of Kalen King, Christian Welch, obviously Jonathan Ford. You got Green, you got Oladapo with 32 snaps. You got a decent look at him, Ballantyne, Rochelle. There you go. So, all right, and then a snap count 3, of course, down at the very bottom there. And you can see it was kind of surprising that Odumegwu didn't get more snaps, but I guess they're not really looking at him as a roster spot. They're just going to carry him on the practice squad again, because I don't think where he's in the international edition, I don't think it ties up an actual practice squad. So There you go. All right, let's jump into PFF grades. We're running behind, man. I'm so glad we hit on the chat early. Can you see these okay, Jacob?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So on offense, we'll just go through the top 10, and then I'll give you the floor, and you tell me what you notice about some of these other players or some of them that we hit, okay? Starting, and again, these are the offensive grades, okay? And it will specifically hit on some of the stuff that they did well. Number 1, Luke Tenuta at 69.6, Malik Heath at 69.3, Samori Toure 64.5, Caleb Jones 64.2, Travis Glover 64.0, Ben Sims 62.8. So Ben Sims led the tight ends. Kadeem Telford 61.8, Messiah Swinson 61.7, only 5 snaps though. Lasita Smith 60.9, then Sean Ryan at 60.7, Bo Melton 60.2, Andre Dillard 57.3. So we actually went to like the 12 mark. Let's go to 13 because of Emmanuel Wilson. Emmanuel Wilson 56.3, pass blocking grade 79.9, running grade 55.4. So again, I want to always talk about this when we hit PFF grades. We're not saying this is gospel, okay? We're not saying, hey, this is the most accurate depiction of what happened in the game. It's just another source, another tool that we have access to. Jacob, what sticks out to you here on offense, man?
Well, right away be Malik Heath and Torre as far as the wide receivers. And then definitely I'm impressed with the fact Glover didn't have a great score by any means, neither did Caleb Jones, but I mean, when our best score is sub 70, everybody had kind of a not great day. But I would say then out of that wide receiver group, it's pretty clear that Malik Heath kind of won the day. And then out of the interior backup offensive lineman group, that it seems like that definitely, I guess if you want to consider Glover in that group, but I would definitely say Sean Ryan won that battle. If you look down towards the bottom of this grouping here, it's kind of sad because you see guys like Sean Clifford, Grant DeBose, Joel Wilson, Michael Pratt, Jacob Monk, Royce Newman, guys that had a lot of snaps that we would probably hope were doing way better than that. So, but again, these are grades going against, I hate to say it, but superior talent. They were playing
right.
Man, look at Ellis Merriweather's pass blocking grade. That's not going to get him on the team.
5.1. That might be the lowest grade I've ever seen.
I don't think I've ever seen a single digit.
The only way that you could warrant less than a 10 in pass blocking is he went and got a hot dog during a play. That's the only thing I can come up with here. That is insane. I'm glad you pointed that out. So let's look at what the highest grade was specifically, not overall offensive grade, but specific grade, right? It looks like that would have been Andre Dillard, 84.3 pass blocking. Now, he was playing left tackle. Jacob, the one thing that I'm coming away with Andre Dillard, he can be a backup left tackle and pretty damn good at protecting the blind side of the quarterback. He's cheeks at run blocking, but he cannot play right tackle. It just seems like it hasn't clicked. So you would like your swing tackle to be able to play both spots, but the reality is it's not going to happen. So let's say you decide to carry 10 offensive linemen. Let's say there's one backup at each position on the offensive line. You might be able to get away with 9, seeing that Sean Ryan can play all 3 of those interior positions. What you need now, if you've established Andre Dillard's going to make the roster, and I'm not saying he will, but let's just play devil's advocate for a second. He's your backup left tackle. who's your backup right tackle? Because you don't have that luxury of that guy playing swing tackle if he can't do it. And Mark Talister explained it best. Like, you want to know what it's like to play one side of the line and then go to the other, specifically at the tackle position. Try wiping with the opposite hand tonight. That's what it's like. Not going to work well.
Don't try it.
If you do,
that
don't
makes sense. Wait, that specific option, like you just talked about. I mean, left tackle. Did you see Caleb Jones's pass blocking as well?
Yeah,
82.9. I mean, that's pretty darn good. Also, Kadeem Telfort is the 7th best graded right tackle. I'm sorry, 7th best rated player on the offense there, but he's only at a 54.3. Even Travis Glover had a better passing blocking grade, which was 71.0. And then Mr. Luke Tenuta, who had the overall best grade, had an 80.9 pass block grade
at right tackle.
At right tackle. So you guys know I've said I don't understand why Luke Tenuta's not getting more snaps. Last year they were really high on the guy, and then he got hurt, and for whatever reason, hopefully he makes a resurgence. And we have, we have so many guys that are just up in the air. They're either rookies, UDFAs, or guys that are coming off injuries that were basically UDFAs years prior, like the Caleb Joneses, the Luke Tenutas, the Telforts, and then you got your whole batch of the new boys. So it's a rough one to patch together, but it is promising because I wouldn't expect that we're going to see their best football, obviously, in the beginning of the training camp and the preseason. If anything, it's going to take probably a few weeks, if not half the season, if not more, to actually get them clicking, picking it up speed-wise.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you were to just go strictly off of this game here, Luke Tenuta is in the running for right tackle to be that backup right tackle spot. So if that's the case, on your active roster, you would have Rasheed Walker, Zach Tom, Andre Dillard, or Caleb. I mean, like you pointed it out, Caleb Jones played better than Andre Dillard. He did. According to PFF, he did. Significantly better.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we're writing Caleb Jones off. Again, it's not ideal. Of course, you've got Travis Glover right there with Caleb Jones too, and he's a rook on a 4-year deal, right? Which one was it? It was Jennings that was undrafted, right? Am I thinking right?
Donovan Jennings was undrafted.
So Travis Glover was drafted, right?
Yes, he was. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So you got that 4-year deal. They'll probably look to covet that, right? So, yeah, it kind of feels like left tackle, backup left tackle, Travis Glover, Caleb Jones, kind of the matchup there, along with Andre Dillard. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they just cut him though. Right tackle, Luke Tenuta, and probably Kadeem Telford. So that's kind of how it's looking. So again, that's why you have training camp, man. In the beginning, they were giving Andre Dillard every chance to play right tackle, and it just didn't work. So go ahead, Jake.
No, they were asking what the asterisks mean, and I was going to say that it means that they were starters last year or on the team, but they've got Monk with the star there, so I don't know if that means projected starters or projected. What does that mean?
Starter. Sort by this. I guess that's the asterisk right there, right?
So they got Monk as a starter and Sims as a starter. Maybe that just means making the 53 at this point.
For starter, sort by this column.
No, S means for starter. So
okay, gotcha. So yeah, I don't see an asterisk on the key. I have no idea. I can't answer that for you. Maybe they spent time on the practice squad. You think Sean Ryan wasn't though, right?
Yeah, because they got Monk though. Monk's a rookie.
Yeah, they got Andre Dillard too. So yeah, I have no clue. There's no rhyme or reason to that, right? Oh, maybe it means they started in this game. Do you think it means that?
Yes,
I think that's what it is. Yep. So Kadeem Telford did start, and then Luke Tenuta came in, I bet.
Okay, that actually helps a lot. Because that's what I was trying to say.
They did.
Tell me. I like it.
Yeah, so
Monk, Newman, and look at that. So that there's a pretty even spread of our starters there. Definitely some of the main positions. Yeah, you don't like to see that.
And Joe Wilson came a little bit back down to earth. And again, I know Michael Pratt didn't play great, but according to PFF, he played significantly better than Sean Clifford. And again, Sean Clifford probably got penalized for that interception pretty harshly. And the reality is, like Matt LaFleur said, it was more on Malik Heath not flattening off that route. So we got it. That's what I mean by these grades aren't everything. You need to kind of take everything into consideration, all the information at hand. So, all right, you ready to move on to defense?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to defense now. Where you at? Bang. All right, so make sure you can see these okay, right?
Yep. Hey, they look a lot better.
Yeah, they look a little more color to these. Benny Sapp the third, 85.9 on 14 snaps. Chris Russell Jr., no clue who he is, 80.4. He's a weak side linebacker is what they said.
Six
Christian
snaps, though.
Welch. You
Six
remember
snaps.
Tim last night talking about he loved thought Christian Welch played great. 75.1. Run defense grade of 76.5. Tackle grade of 79.4. Coverage grade of 64.1, so he was great against the run. Kobe Wooden, 72.8. Jonathan Ford played 34 snaps as a nose last night, playing that one tech. 72.6. Pass rush grade, 70.5. That's kind of impressive. Again, it's against backups by the majority of the game, I should say. Aaron Mosby, 71.4 with a pass rush grade of 75.2 and a tackle grade of 70.5. Corey Ballantyne, 70.3. Jamon Green, 70.0. Evan Williams, 69.1. Came down a bit from the previous game, but still solid score. You guys know how I feel about this. If a rookie grade's above a 60, pretty good game, pretty good performance, right? Brevin Allen, 68.3 at right outside linebacker. Robert Rochelle, 67.4. Odumegwu, only 5 snaps at 65.8. Brenton Cox Jr., 65.5. I thought he played better than that, but still over 60, not horrible. Javon Bullard, 65.3. His tackle grade, man.
That's rough.
Yeah, and it's totally the opposite from what we've seen in college. So maybe it's just a bad game. I hope so. Deslin Alexander, 64.7. On and on and on here. So if we go to the bottom of the group here, Raylan Goforth, you guys know I was kind of dogging him last night. 32.9. That's kind of the way I seen the way he played. Zach Morton, 47. Kalen King had a rough night.
How does Zach Morton get a safety? The only point scored, and the pro walks out of there with a 47.
See, that's what I love about PFF, because it could have been a free rush. You know what I mean? I don't know how much he beat his guy or what have you. They probably put a pretty negative mark on Zach Wilson, who was the quarterback, who obviously made a key mistake. One of the things I like about PFF is, even though, like you said, it was the most impactful play of the day for the Packers, seeing it was the only point scored. But at the end of the day, they're grading the play and not necessarily the outcome. Yeah. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe there wasn't a whole lot to it. Kalen King, though, man, 47-2. It's a rough look, man. And you heard me talk about him whiffing on tackles. He missed 2 tackles on one play. His tackle grade was a 25. So just a rough day at the office there. Lucas Van Ness came back down to earth there a little bit too at 51.8 as well. Anything you want to hit on there from the defensive side? Oh, Tyron Hopper, Jake.
That's what I was actually going to talk about, was Hopper and Wilson.
Yeah, we felt like Tyron Hopper had a pretty decent game, and his run defense, 70.4, solid. You could see that. 64.5 in tackling, pass coverage, 50.9. So the dude is a good run defending linebacker, at least early on here in his time in Green Bay. But pass defense needs some work. So go ahead, Jake. You get the floor, bro.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that. I haven't watched the game back over like I should have, but I thought he was fine, but I thought he was more of like a reactionary. He reminded me more of like a Blake Martinez, where the dude would end up with like 13 tackles, but usually most of them were, after he gained 4 to 5 to 6, 7 yards kind of down the field. I was more surprised at Eric Wilson's overall grade, because I thought that in the flashes I saw for him that he looked pretty good. His tackling grade was pretty darn
That's
awesome.
What we seen too, wasn't it?
He looked, dude. I'm telling you, I got a man crush on that guy. He is just, every time I watch him just smoke a dude and get up and fucking flex, I'm like, yeah, Eric Wilson, let's go.
I love it. So if we looked at the specific grades, who scored the highest? You got, let me see. Did anybody score in the 80s on anything specifically? I'm not seeing that. So it looked like the highest grade was the tackle grade for Christian Welch at a 79.4. Benny Sapp the third.
Anthony Johnson had a just slightly better one.
Is that right? Let's see. 79.5. That's there you go. Okay. And coverage grade not that bad either, to 65.6. Could have been better, but not too bad. The other one I was going to mention was Benny Sapp the third. His coverage grade was a 78.4. His tackle grade 77. I mean, he did everything well. 77.2 tackle grade. Only 14 snaps, but all of a sudden the safety room's a bright spot, Jacob. That's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm surprised that Zane Anderson, he did get some playtime. Okay. I mean, I've even seen flashes out of him. I've seen flashes out of Benny Sapp. Even like to this day, I always remember, like, I don't know where Benny Sapp came from. I don't know where he goes in between games. but he comes back and he just randomly is on the team, and I'm like, I'm cool with Benny. And then obviously Ant, and then all the starters out. It's weird to me that after all the praise and the pomp and circumstance that we went through in the offseason, and specifically with the draft, that Kedan Oladapo would be the one that I'm just like, meh, if he makes the team, he makes the team. Mm-hmm. Which is sad. I said that at the beginning of this year. You guys remember, hopefully. I was like, man, I'm worried about Kedan because I didn't know he was hurt with that. It wasn't like a toe injury or something, but I'm like, he's not going to be on the field. This dude's going to be lucky if he makes the team.
And people laugh at toe injuries and turf toe and stuff like that.
It sucks.
Bro, you can't hardly do anything. Like it's just extremely painful with all the nerves that are in the old phalanges. And on top of that, you have no burst whatsoever when you got a toe injury. So, all right, let's move along now to special teams. And we jump into those grades. And let's see kind of who stood out there. So at the top of the list, we've got Christian Young at a 78-2. Grant Dubose, 77. Remember we talked about that tackle he made on that punt while we were live as the game was wrapping up? That's probably what scored him that big grade there, 77. Eric Wilson, 74-3, continuing to do great things on special teams. Ben Sims, 72-8. Ben Sims going to make this roster, man. Yeah. I believe it. Ellis Merriweather, 72-7. Zane Anderson, 70.6. Brenton Cox Jr., 70.5. Aaron Mosby, 69.9. So there you go. Let's go to the bottom of the list here and see maybe if there's any fringe guys that scored bad. Joe Wilson.
Come on, Joel.
But like we said, Joe Wilson will probably be that practice squad tight end. There's a decent chance there, right? Anthony Johnson Jr., 57-1. I think he probably makes a roster regardless, but it's kind of a tough look. Katano Ladapo, 58-8. Kingsley Nibori, 58-9. Just to kind of look at a few. Evan Williams, 9 snaps, 59-6. That's not that good, bub. And Greg Joseph, of course, he kicked that ball over into Oregon. That's he got a 60.0 evidently on his PFF grade. So there you go. Some of the other brighter spots. Let's think of some of those bubble guys or some of like the interior offensive line, some of those positions, Jacob, where there's going to be some real competitiveness, right? What sticks out to you? Malik Heath, 61-3. Okay. Who else in that group do you think? Grant DeBose, we talked about it. So Grant DeBose got a little bit of the upper hand in special teams reps this week, but he's absolutely sucked at receiver. So kind of a push there, right? I feel like we're right back to square one there. Malik Heath, 61-3. So, yeah.
I would think Brenton Cox probably helped himself probably make the team. And like you just said, Ben Sims. Otherwise, it's kind of a toss-up. I think Aaron Wilson already is a lock. I would consider him a lock out of that group, but that'd be the only one, Yeah,
I agree. Anything else you want to hit on here with the PFF grades, man? We'll get ready to wrap this thing up.
No, that looks good.
All right. If you guys and gals would do us a big favor, just take a quick second, hit that like button for us. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on this Monday evening. And listen, I got some really good feedback from the post-game show. We're never going to get in here and just sulk and be negative and I think people appreciate that. I always try to tell the guys before we went live last year, if it was a tough loss, and we had a lot in the first half, didn't we, Jacob? I always say, listen, everybody that's going to be watching this show tonight, they're as pissed off and hurting as much as we are. Let's try to lift them up just a touch. Let's talk about what happened, but let's don't get in here with a, sour attitude. So I really appreciate the good feedback we got. The viewership is up like crazy, so thank you all for that as well. We're going to get in here and talk about what happened, why did it happen, try to break things down, help each other understand it. The chat's going to help us understand. We're going to give you guys information all year long. But, again, we're going to try to give you the positive approach as much as possible. So, Jacob, what else you want to hit on before we get out of here, big dog?
Do we have a breakdown or any sort of schedule going forward for the week as far as what practices are public, what time we get that little joint? There we go. There's that joint.
Always looking for that joint.
Stay off the weed.
That would have been a good. See, that's why we need Tim in here with the.
That's why we need Tim. God. Where's Emilio, by the way?
I know he was driving back. He had a wedding to go to in New York.
He's always got so many excuses, dude.
He's got so many friends, Jacob. He's so popular, He just. Let me tell you something about this cat named Emilio. When my brother passed away, I looked up that funeral. there was Emilio. I was like, I'll be damned. He's a good dude. And you could tell friends, family, it's everything to him, man. And that tells you a lot about a person. It really does, man. It really does. So good dude. But yeah, he's
now I feel bad because I brought up Smitty's comment.
No, we're still going to give him hell. You kidding me?
He said our international player had a decent day. I didn't know Emilio strapped up that day.
We're going to give him some.
All right, so to answer your question, Jacob, tomorrow, open practice to the public, 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Now, I want to just double check because there was a schedule change. Start time for the public practice that's tomorrow, ain't it?
Yeah.
The 20th is actually going to be moved back, okay? So it's going to be 2:30 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. All right, that's going to be the practice tomorrow. So, man, I'm so tempted to do a live show during that.
I'll be off during that time, just saying.
You will be available?
I should be, yeah.
I just don't know if my day is going to be done, man. We're so busy right now. It's a blessing. I'm not complaining, but it's going to be highly unlikely. But if something happens and it shakes loose and I can get home in time, I will text you as soon as possible, and you guys will just see us go live during practice. But plan on the 7 p.m. Even if we go live at 7 p.m., Jake, we'll be able to cover everything that happened. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I'm glad we pulled that up there. Tomorrow, practice will actually be 2:30 p.m. Central Time. That's according to Packers Twitter. Hopefully nothing's changed. They tweeted this out on August the 14th, so roughly 5 days ago. Now, after that, the joint practice will be 10:30 a.m. on Thursday. That's going to be a fun day to cover that. That'll be a joint practice with the Baltimore Ravens. And then we got a Saturday night or a Saturday day game, dude, 12 noon. I like that. Lambeau, noon. I'm digging that. You going to be available for that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll make sure I am if I'm not.
All right, cool. So there you go. And then after that, where's it at? Then the final cut down is the 27th. Okay. So again, if we looked at that schedule, so next Tuesday is the cut down day. Just wild to me. But
that's
anyway,
crazy.
Dude. Yeah, we were so close to doing a live stream during the game the other day. I thought about just keeping it up and just turning the camera on occasionally, not being on all the time. It's just a lot of work, man, to be on camera for 6 or 8 hours.
And you miss a lot of stuff, like we
Absolutely.
don't have content, I feel like, when we're trying to multitask, because even, dude, like I watch the chat, I can barely listen to what you're saying at the same time. I'm like,
right. And if we're doing a live stream in a game, most people just watch the game and they react, and this is what you'll see from me the whole time. Because I'm like, I've got 3 charts going. I'm charting every play and trying to keep up with everything that's going on. Mandy will come in occasionally and give me food. I'm going to start wearing a sign that says "Do not feed," man. I'm going to be 700
don't feed.
But anyway, that's the schedule. So tomorrow, again, we've got that joint practice that's going to be at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. So anything else, Jacob?
Nah, man. I think we crushed it.
All right. Guys, gals, thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. This was a blast. It's always awesome talking ball with y'all. We'll be back tomorrow night. There's a chance we'll go live for practice. Most likely we'll be live at 7 p.m. Central Time, though. So hopefully we'll see you all in here tomorrow. Hit like, hit subscribe. Thank y'all so much for supporting the channel. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you so much for sitting through the commercials, sitting through the ads, all that stuff that supports the show. We really appreciate you. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.